watch this?
How?
Ew,
How do you watch this? Dude, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Hello, you're listening to How Do You Watch This, a movie review podcast where each week we give each other a movie to watch in the genre we love, but they don't. My name is Demi, and I love horror.
My name is Megan, and I love romance.
And this week I had Megan watch The Thing, John Carpenter's 1982 movie. So this is a new week, new thread.
Yep.
New horror.
thread. And I told Demi before we recorded, I decided that I'm keeping the thread a secret from her. I just feel like we at least get to give people like a secret waiting for the romance week. So now you get a secret waiting.
Yeah.
Or wait.
We'll see if I can figure it out.
Sorry, that was my brain trying to figure out how to make a secret for horror week, but I guess I just always know everything. I'm just omniscient. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see if you figure it out. I don't know if you will, but I think you will.
Okay.
It'll just be like a fun little game.
Hopefully it's they're both in Antarctica.
That would be, I mean, you know, all the love stories based in Antarctica, so
that would be the ideal thread.
There's so many. But... I did want to make the thread Kurt Russell, but I haven't seen the romance that he's in. I was gonna watch it before and like see if it was worthy, and then I just never did. So
it's all right. I would have loved to see more Kurt, but it's okay.
I know. We'll talk all about him. I don't need this yet, actually. Oh, it's because I think you gave all of the information. The only thing that I don't think you mentioned was that it is a sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yep, it's called The Thing. It's 1982. It's John Carpenter. So you got me covered. Thanks. Okay. So I'm going to go through my snapshot, and then we can talk about the things of note. There are lots of things to speak about on this.
There's a lot, yes.
So everybody get ready. Okay. The movie opens in Antarctica in 1982, winter, which technically I feel like it's always winter in Antarctica.
Yeah. Extra
Whatever.
winter.
Yeah. Deep winter. Immediately, we see the dog that Demi mentioned, a beautiful husky, being chased by a Norwegian helicopter-type plane. I don't know what those planes are called. They look like the seaplanes.
A helicopter?
It's like a helicopter, but it's got like special little like slidey things. I don't know. Is it just a helicopter?
I think it's just a helicopter. One of those unique planes I've never seen
like,
before.
You probably have never heard of it. It only has one plate on top.
I don't know if it's like a special type of helicopter, but I know it's a helicopter.
Okay, all my helicopter girlies, if you can let me know. You could probably look this up and Googled it and not had this problem, but that's fine.
It's fine.
It's okay. Shots and explosions ring out as the pilot attempts to commit the cardinal sin of murdering a dog. Demi spoiled that the dog was an alien, though, so I wasn't overly worried. Only a little. I still was like, that poor baby.
Yeah.
Even though. Okay. Luckily for the dog, he arrived at the U.S. camp and was protected by those brave men. There was a language miscommunication, and the Norwegian accidentally blew up his plane and a friend, and he gets shot. Oh, no, he shoots a man, and then he gets shot. Before they could ever peacefully discuss the situation. We can talk more about this in depth later. I feel like this whole movie didn't need to happen, but it's fine. If only they had a woman there.
If they had a translator, absolutely.
The men decide they need to investigate the Norwegian camp regardless of weather conditions. There, they discover smoke billowing. A bloody axe is embedded in the door, which would be my number one sign to run away. Far, far away. Mm-hmm. They also find a man who killed himself with a razor and a giant block of ice with a center carved out. They then bring back this deformed body to their camp and ask for an autopsy to be done. Meanwhile, the rescued pup is put away with the rest of the doggies. The vibes are majorly off, and suddenly the new dog turns into a Demogorgon spider monster. I literally hated the scene so much. I'm not even going to go into detail about it. I refuse to talk more about.
I do dislike this scene.
It's obviously the deleted scene. None of those dogs had to die. It's
always Every time I rewatch, I'm like, I forgot. I blank it out of my head, and then I rewatch. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I was talking to Jackie, and she was like, I can never watch a movie with dogs that die or whatever. And then I'm texting her and she's like, oh my god, The Thing is such a good movie. I was like, dude, so many dogs die. And she was like, what? Everyone blacks it out. What? You guys, it's like the first horrible murders.
It really is just like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. No, and not only that, but later, some of the dogs survive, and you're like, thank God, some of them survive.
I know.
And then...
They don't.
They don't, and it's horrible. Anyway.
Yeah.
0 out of 10.
I guess if you think about it, none of the dogs probably would have ever survived the whole situation, so.
No, but only because the men don't know how to handle themselves. But it's fine. We can talk more about that later. Because, again, I don't even know if I could handle myself, but it's fine. I'm acting like I would be very cool, calm, and collected, but...
This would have been a nightmare situation.
No, I already know because we play so many games, like, deception games, that I'm like, I mean, half the time your husband will be like, Megan's lying. Megan, we should all kill Megan. And then I get killed, but hello, I was perfect, obviously. I'm like...
He really does. It's because he'll, like, zone in on one specific thing. If you say something that's kind of weird,
right,
you're done. Like, he is forever, and everyone's just gonna side with Brett, too.
Yeah, unfortunately. He's too charismatic.
It's horrible.
I hate him. Anyway. All the men at the camp were alerted to the presence of an alien creature, and so they took action. They killed the thing, and the doctor discovers that it is an imitation animal, something that takes on the form of the life form it just devoured. It's also 75% likely a team member has already been infected, and if the alien isn't stopped, the entire world will be infected within 27,000 hours, which I didn't bother to do the math, but that's like close to 1,000 days. Like a little over 1,000 days.
Like 3 years? Over 3 years?
That makes sense if it's like 1,000.
3 years and 1 month.
Okay. That's longer than I would have thought, but...
It's a lot of people to get through.
That's fair enough. Little by little, teammates begin to be infected. They turn on one another and can't decide who to trust. It appears that Blair, the doctor, sabotaged the helicopter thing so the world doesn't get infected. We learn he killed the remaining dogs, so he is now enemy number 1. Mm-hmm. Further sabotages abound, and they are only 6 hours away from a deadly storm. Things come to a head when the gang suspects McCready, aka Kurt Russell, of being an imitation. He threatens them with dynamite. Suddenly, teammate Norris dies, and his stomach eats the doctor. We are now down 5 men. There were 12 to begin with. It was just too much to go into all of their deaths.
Yes.
This is much easier. Okay. Mac is attacked and kills Clark, another man, in self-defense. He then explains a blood test he concocted to prove who is human and who is alien. They all put their blood into a petri dish in probably the second grossest scene, third grossest? I don't know. There's a lot of gross scenes.
There's a lot of gross scenes.
Yeah. McCready puts a hot wire into the dish. If the blood acts normally, like it sizzles, whatever, they're human. If it explodes and jumps out of the petri dish, they are alien. The entire scene was really gross but productive because they did find out that someone was an alien, and it ends up killing another person. And now we're down to only 5 surviving members, although Blair, the doctor, has been locked away in a shack in case he was dangerous. When they go to check and see if he's alien or human, they see that he has escaped. Childs, another one of the survivors, appears to destroy the generator, which means no one will get out of there alive. The remaining 3 humans decide they need to blow the place up with Molotov cocktails. Through these actions, everyone but Childs and McCready dies. They sit together in the wake of the explosions out in the cold, and you believe in the end that they probably slowly freeze to death, and there is no closure regarding whether Childs is human or not.
That is still talked about and discussed today because everyone has a theory about it.
Yes. I mean, I have my own theory about it, but
I would love to hear your theories.
I will obviously give you my theories. Let's go up to my top of things of note. Number 1, I would like to discuss the graphics. I know it's 1982, but I just wanted to giggle so many times. What year was Alien? Was it 79?
79, yep.
Man, I'm amazing. Okay. So it definitely was giving like alien vibes with the puppetry and stuff like that. Yeah. It was clearly like wax figures and things, you know, like it didn't feel like realistically human, like deformed corpses and things like that, which is fine. It was kind of funny the way that
Windows died. Where he's like in the mouth and he's getting like... Oh
my god, dude. That was goofy as hell.
That scene makes
and he
me
like
laugh
shoots to the ceiling at one point too. Like...
Yeah.
He starts levitating.
And the scene, it makes me mad because they're like, shoot him. This creature is like forming. And he's taking forever. And I'm like, someone do something. McCready's fire flamethrower is broken. Like, it's not working. And then Windows is, like, obviously shocked. Yeah, it's horrifying. But then he gets, like, it opens up and grabs Windows' head. It starts swinging. And you could tell it's just, like, a mannequin.
Yeah.
It's just, like, everyone's panicking. But I just, like, laugh every time because it's just, mannequins.
No, it's goofy.
So funny.
It's so goofy. But all I could think about was like McCready is like trying his flamethrower isn't working, and I'm like, dude, go run over to Windows and grab his flamethrower.
Do something.
Like he clearly has all he's doing is hitting this freaking thing over and over again. I'm like, clearly nothing's happening.
There's so many moments where they just like hesitate and like, yeah, I get it. It's horrifying to look at, but I'm like, someone do something. Just anything.
Anybody do anything. And that was part of the problem too, I think. Like, they were doing the blood test, and people were tied up, and probably some people shouldn't have been. I guess he was, like, the second one.
They tied those people up because they were the most suspicious. So
they tied everybody up except for himself and Windows, Yeah.
So, yeah, he was just, like, assuming, which, I mean, is fair. At that point, you're like, anyone can literally be the alien. Yeah, that scene when they figure out who's the alien, he starts transforming, everyone's still tied, is freaking out because they're tied next to him.
Horrifying.
Oh my god, I would have peed my pants like that.
No, I would have been really upset.
That would have ended me.
There was just like a couple of things that made me laugh. One of the things that made me laugh was the fact that like when they went, so I didn't mention this, but they go and they explore the excavation site of the Norwegians, and it's clearly just like hand drawn, and they're like walking on what is clearly like a hand drawn.
So it's a cell backdrop, and it is a very famous artist who did it, and
it was good.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. He's like older, but he did like for Hitchcock movies and stuff. But yeah, it is like a drawn backdrop of like a spaceship, and it's, I guess, the best they could have done at the time, and it's like a traditional spaceship. Like, it's just like a saucer. Like, it wasn't anything.
No, it was very
fancy.
But I didn't really talk about Fuchs, but he dies because he flared himself to death, and they don't really know if he was right.
It's unknown how he died. He just like, they just found his burnt body outside,
and they thought it was from a flare. But is that even possible?
So the flares they had were like real, and it was actually burning. So when Kurt Russell was talking and like threatening to use the dynamite, he tried to like say his lines in like 90 seconds because that's when it was like gonna go and like burn his hand. So I guess it's possible to like, I don't know if you burn like that. Yeah, I have no idea what happened because an imitation would have just taken over him at that point if he was alone. Unless he encountered someone and something happened and he just caught on fire from the flare and just burned himself. That could have been it, or he could have committed suicide if he thought he was going to get attacked and just fucking lit himself. But it wasn't really, that's kind of like a, not red herring, but just kind of like a, what happened here? Because that's when you see, is that where they see the McCready jacket? Or he found the McCready?
Yes, he found the McCready jacket. Yeah. And then later the McCready jacket gets found in a stove. So you know that there had to be someone else who found it.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's roll back to the beginning and just talk about some things from the beginning before we get into these nuances. Mm-hmm. Because I obviously want to talk about some goofy things that happen very early on that kind of do some character building, aka McCready, very early on, he's like drinking straight from the bottle, and that's fine. You're in Antarctica. It's the winter 1982. Okay.
Yeah.
He gets really mad because he loses a game of online chess, and he breaks the chess computer.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. You're stuck in Antarctica for God knows how long, and you're going to break.
Nothing else to do. And
I was like,
pour whiskey inside this computer and break it.
It's no surprise that later on he threatens everyone with dynamite because apparently he's just really ready to go.
He was supposed to have more backstory where he was a Vietnam helicopter pilot during the war, and so he's like a veteran and he has like PTSD and insomnia and like kind of these issues going on. So like, I don't know if maybe that is part of why he kind of acted out the way he did
Yeah.
in some moments. But yeah, and that I was like, why would you do that, homie?
Yeah. What the hell?
So toxic of you.
Yeah, exactly. Like such a boy who punches a hole in his wall kind of a vibe.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. He is so young there. It's like he's a baby. I was like, "Oh my god, how old is he when he
31.
31. That's my age range."
Yeah. But he it took him a full year to grow out his hair and beard.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very impressive beard and hair.
It is. It is.
So they were actually having a hard time casting McCready because they wanted someone pretty specific, and they actually wanted someone like older, kind of more gritty. And Kurt Russell is really good friends with John Carpenter because he worked on a few movies with him already. And John was kind of like, hey, do you want this part? Because they were just kind of talking back and forth about the character. And Universal, who produced it, wasn't sure about Kurt Russell because he's so pretty and young.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know, but he worked great for the movie.
Oh,
so
yeah, he did a great job. Yeah, he's pretty, but he's also, like, I don't know.
He's got the full beard and hair. It worked, yeah. It wasn't like he was
definitely.
Like, you know, a pretty boy, like...
Yeah, it's not Channing Tatum.
Depp.
Yeah. 90s Johnny Depp would never fly. Yeah, I really liked him in it. When we saw him, immediately Travis was like, oh, Patrick Swayze. I was like, no. Not really, but good try. He's like, they kind of look the same. And I was like, yeah, I guess.
I used to get them confused a lot.
They are kind of similar looking. They've got that same, like, you know, face.
Yeah.
Just like the classic face.
Hollywood.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the Norwegian.
Yes.
Who arrives. All right. So, instead of going in guns blazing, right? You see this dog. The dog is in their arms. Okay. You know that the dog needs to be alone with a person to consume it. And there's a whole group of people. So, you go up to them and you walk slowly and then you take the dog from them and then you do what you have to do. Or you try to find a way to communicate with them while constantly holding onto the dog to ensure that no one is alone with the dog and you have the dog. Okay, first of all, situation's done. Now they all have figured it out and they've communicated and whatever.
Yes.
The goofiest, that was when I laughed, was probably the goofiest death of the whole movie, was the fact that the pilot is with a buddy and he picks up a grenade to throw at the dog and throws it backwards
at
his buddy. And the buddy and the helicopter explode.
Yeah. Yeah, that I was like, dude, come on.
Right.
And then he's like, well, I gotta keep trying to kill his dog. There is another movie, and it's supposed to be a prequel, and it's about the Norwegian team.
Okay.
So you learn more about, his name is Lars, and you learn more about him. He only speaks Norwegian. Dealing with them, it seemed more like chaotic. Like it was just going after people. And it kind of seemed like more panicky than the alien in this movie. And I don't know if that was like intentional, if they were just like, oh, let's make it more crazy, or if like the alien learned from dealing with humans, like, okay, I gotta like go about this a different way. So and Lars was always kind of like a, fuck it, I'm gonna just do whatever I can.
Yeah.
And when in the movie, when he sees the dog leave, he panics, and that's when he gets in the helicopter with like a rescue. It was pretty much checking in on him, and he was like, we gotta go. And me as the pilot would have been like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Why are you going after this dog? But they go, and he's just shooting at this dog. But yes, they could have maybe had a better solution, but Lars was just kind of out of his mind at that point and was like desperate. So.
And I figure like they probably didn't know what we ended up learning about the whole you have to be alone with it sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also, like, moving forward in this timeline with our team, like the USA scientists or whatever. So the doctor figures out that it can imitate, and that Fugue says, like, you need to be, it, like, is very strong. It can survive very easily. It can live. Yeah. I think it has to be, like, burned, basically, in order for it to not disappear. And he says that you have to be alone. Like, you have to be just you with the creature for it to, I don't know, take you over, like, subtly.
Assimilate, yeah.
So then...
It's trying to hide, basically.
Right. So in my mind, everyone should have just held hands in a circle, basically, and figured their shit out.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of talked together and worked it out. And then if you all stop breaking up and saying, no, you go ahead, I'm going to stay alone here, which they kept doing, which was a horrible idea. You should be in threes. I was thinking about it the whole time I was watching the movie. I was like, pairs, no, not enough, because one of them could be a bad guy. But threes, you have a little safety net anyway.
And I think, like, part of it is that no one trusted anyone.
No.
So it's like, at that point, if you're paired up, all of them could be aliens. You could be the only human. Yeah. Or, like, most of them are aliens, and then you're fucked. Because then at that point, the aliens are just going to be like, all right, we overpower. Who knows? It seems like the alien was just trying to, like, infiltrate.
Yeah.
And could have just stayed low if they were just grouped together. But then at that point, if they escape, the alien's escaping with them. So it's, like, a whole complicated type of situation. Yeah. And so this movie is based on a book called Who Goes There? It's like an old book. It's like a short novella, 17 pages. And it's pretty exact. This rendition was pretty exact to the book. And in the book, which I thought was pretty cool, the team had to constantly reach back out to, I don't know, where they reached out. So in the movie, Windows is like trying to reach people, trying to get in contact and never get in contact with people. So in the book, they're constantly in contact because if they lose contact, they're going to send a rescue team to see what's going on. And the team is like, we cannot let this thing get out. So the whole time they had to say, like, no, everything's fine. We're fine. When it's not fine, just to prevent, you know, outside help to get in there to potentially leave, which I thought was pretty cool bit that they didn't do in the movie. But yeah, it's like, it's a lot, you know, a lot happens very quickly. And yeah, I think staying in a group would have been smarter. Yes. But also it's like, at that point, we can't get rescued because one of you can be an alien and we cannot have them get out.
Well, I was thinking more like they would stay in a group and figure out a way. Like, if they just stayed in a group and then eventually... I mean, the only reason McCready came up with his whole blood test was because of the fact that people kept turning and he figured out how to, you know, they die or whatever. But regardless, I think that, like, anyone in any situation similar to that would have a hard time because we've played, like I said, we played the Thing board game. We played all these sorts of games where you have to try to convince people you are or aren't something, and people are pointing fingers.
It's very difficult.
And it's very challenging. The fact that he was able to come up with that blood test was very ingenious, and even still, they tried to stay together, and things went awry.
Yeah. The one thing was when they went to go check on the doctor to do the test on him, and they told Childs to stay behind, and I'm like, just bring everyone at that point.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I know they wanted, in case the doctor got out and Childs is there, he can stop him, but it's like, that's a big chance to take. Lo and behold, they get to the hut and the doctor's not in there. He escaped. So it's like, well, we're fucked. And then at that point, Childs could not trust anyone, because if the doctor got out and then they get back, it's like, how do I know if you guys are infected or not?
Yes. And then it's like Childs ran out of the base, and then immediately after, the generator goes out. And so it's like, okay, did Childs do that, or was that the doctor? And you know, you really don't know. My personal feeling, I feel like the doctor got to Childs. Childs was turned. Childs took out the generator. And then at the end, he gets frozen as the alien to come again. The Thing 2 is how I feel is what happens. That's my little theory. The ending I prefer is that Childs saw the doctor running, was trying to get him gone, and the doctor got to the generator first, etc., and so on and so forth. That would be better. But I don't believe that they do good endings.
Yeah, my ideal ending is that it's not ideal, but McCready and Childs were human at the end. They share a drink. They freeze over. Yeah. What probably is that Childs is a creature. There are some hints. So in the one room that Childs is in, looking out the window, there's coats hanging up. And then the next time you see it's empty, right, the door's open, you realize Childs left, one of the jackets is gone. And it's assumed that because the jacket gets ripped off, the clothes, and so he would have taken a new jacket. So that's one hint. And then the other hint is that he takes a drink from McCready, and the music starts playing when he takes a drink, and that's kind of the hint that the alien's there, and McCready kind of laughs because earlier in the movie Childs says he doesn't drink. He refused to drink from McCready, but then people were like, he refused to drink from McCready.
Oh, okay.
And then he takes one at the end. But people are like, well, if the alien's an exact copy, they would know that Childs doesn't drink and would refuse the drink. But I'm like, I don't know. It's very up in the air. The director has said that one of them is an alien. But then the prequel, which some people were like, totally canon, maybe or not. I forget if John Carpenter was like fully involved in that. In the prequel, they realized that the alien cannot recreate inorganic material. So if you have like any like fillings, earrings, things like that, it's going to fall off and it won't be replaced. It won't be duplicated. And at the end, Childs is wearing his earring still. And people are like, well, the alien could have like put the earring on after it transformed. And I don't know. So it's very much like, who knows? It's kind of like
interesting.
Whatever.
I did think that it was a possibility that Mac could be, but I couldn't follow when he would have turned, or cause for the most part he is like on screen, on camera. It would be a twist.
Yeah, that is another theory, that McCready was an alien for a while and was just playing like, because the whole point of aliens, like, they're just assimilating. They don't care about each other. Like, so he's gonna kill whoever to move on. It doesn't matter if it's its own species or not. So that's also definitely a possibility.
Would that then, in that scenario, would it be that he swapped his blood out with someone else's blood? Or something?
It could have been. Like, some people were like, oh, if he was the alien, he knew what was going to happen, then it wouldn't have gone out. But I'm like, no, because the alien splits off and they're different beings. Right. So at that point, his blood would be different and would react differently. So that would not work. So I don't think McCready was an alien.
No, I guess he could have taken the blood from the blood bags that were depleted and used that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
it's
like
possible.
Running through with this possibility. Because
it's possible.
The weird thing is that there was the McCready jumpsuit that was shredded, so that's that could be a red herring.
Yeah.
I mean, who else would be wearing McCready's outfit though?
Right. So I know earlier in the movie he had to take some of his stuff out of that storeroom. I don't know if he had an extra jacket in there. Remember, he drops it when the one guy wanted to speak to him. So like maybe he had a jacket in there and an alien was trying to, because at that point an alien was already turned. So the dog went to look for someone, found someone. We don't know who it was, but it's assimilated. So there was already a person that was the thing. Yeah. So they could have tried to, put blame on McCready, put blame on other people to get it off of him. So
yeah, it does make you think. It is very interesting.
Yeah.
I lean more towards it being Childs than I do
I do too.
McCready more than anything. Although if McCready took a drink, right? If he took a drink and his spit was on the bottle, would his spit then infect Childs?
I don't know if spit is enough.
Yeah.
I don't think it was.
Because they said all it takes is one particle. But I'm like, what's a particle in 1982? Right. Because
I mean, it's possible. It's possible. I don't know though.
Yeah, I don't
because
either.
the aliens never fully explained. It's assumed that it's kind of like a little, just not germ, but a little thingy that just decided to infect and grow. And so all the deformed things that you see is just like pieces of all the other aliens and creatures that it's assimilated beforehand, and it's just using that, and it keeps growing and growing and growing.
Which I did see something online that kind of said, I guess you could figure out, if you were very observant through looking at faces that were coming out of the creature, what like some of the people who had turned, because you could see, because some of them we didn't know until later that they were aliens, or the whole everything with the alien was like very gross. Like that whole scene with the dude's head crawling away like a spider and everything. Yeah. I was like, that's a lot.
That scene, hold on, I have a description on how it was done, and I was like, oh my god. So first of all, the man who did all the effects, like most of the effects, his name was Rob Bottin, and he was only 22 years old working on this movie. He worked on The Howling before this, which is another like cult classic werewolf film. It has similar effects. So he wanted to work on this movie, and he had the idea of the alien just being like form of just different creatures. Like, it wasn't like one specific form. It was just kind of like an abomination. Yeah. And John Carpenter's like, all right, like, I trust you, draw it up, do whatever. And this man worked his ass off. So he was so dedicated to his work on this film that he became very ill with exhaustion, double pneumonia, and a bleeding ulcer from which he had to be hospitalized.
Shut up.
Yeah, so he was like working.
I care about nothing that much.
Dude, it was like 24/7. I mean, he was 22 years old. It was early.
When you're
like,
22.
So yeah, he's working his ass off. But like so many of the effects and creatures were just like real intricate, and there was like puppeteering involved, and like it was just a whole lot. So the chest chomp effect was achieved by a hydraulic mechanism that snapped the cavity open and shut, sinking razor-sharp acrylic teeth into 2 brace-supported replica arms made of jello and gelatin blood tubes. Double amputee. So they had a different actor for this. He was an amputee.
No.
Joe Carone, and he had a mask of the actor.
Shut
up! During the shot. Yeah. So acted as a stand-in, pulling the false limbs back and providing one hell of a reaction shot.
Dude, that's
so
insane.
It was actual amputee, and because you're looking at the arms, you're not looking at the face. He has like a mask on of the actor, and it's just like a crazy shot. I'm like, because I was thinking, I'm like, how did he achieve some of this stuff? And yeah, it was fake.
That is wild. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's just like a whole bunch of stuff, but the head was like gravity pulling down. You know, the weight of the head was pulling.
Yes.
So it was creating that real gross green stringy
gross.
effect. And then like the spider legs, it had like there was like a fake floor underneath, and they like puppeteered the legs to like come out. It was like a whole thing.
That is crazy. Wild.
Yeah. So
they
like
really went.
Yeah, they went in. That and the blood testing scene are like my 2 like most memorable.
Yes. The blood test scene was the most memorable for me. I mean, the whole scene, start to finish. It was just like, how can you
it
not?
just like, it gets me every time, the way they like make you think it's gonna be the main
Gary.
Like,
they think they really lead you to believe it's like the head guy. He was originally the guy in charge. He's the one who shot in the head that guy Lars. Yeah. And they really, really make you believe it's him. And then at the very end of that scene, it's like, he's like, because McCree's like, I'm saving you for last, Gary. Yeah. And it's like hilarious. And then it's like, it's like this anticlimactic moment because nothing happens. And he's like, I'm fucking human. Like, what the hell, you guys? Thanks.
I'd rather not stay tied to this fucking chair.
Yeah, great. So. There is a really great quote from McCready. And I think that this could very well be a tagline for Gen Z, because it feels like a Gen Z sort of phrase. Yeah. Like, it just feels like something they would say in like a snarky way. But basically, he's talking to Blair and talking about how no one has trust in anyone. And he's like, yeah, well, no one has trust in anyone, so why don't you just trust in the Lord? Oh, yeah. And I was like, it just felt so sassy. And I was like, what are you saying?
So sassy. He's so sassy in this movie. Especially after they like pretty much leave him for dead. He comes back with the dynamite. And he's like, fuck you guys, for real.
Yes. He does remind me a little bit of Brett. Like, there is a level of his energy where I'm like, I could fully see Brett with a gigantic beard just being like...
chaotic.
Yes.
We talked about him doing a cosplay for
I could see it,
because I'm like, you could definitely pull off McCready.
Yeah, he definitely could. And speaking of their outfit, I was looking at all of them and I was like, they would be, that like troop of men would be very fun to cosplay as, because they each have very distinct outfits, and
they do.
Windows has like the afro and then the sunglasses he's wearing inside, and I was like, that's such a vibe. I'm digging it.
I have a funny thing about Windows. It's pretty much, so Windows actually had a different name. I forget what his last name was going to be. And then the actor was like, I want to be called Windows because I'm going to wear sunglasses the whole time. And like, no one knew exactly like what he meant by that. But John Carpenter was like, sure, fuck it. Whatever.
Dude, that's hilarious.
So like, I don't know. He just went in with like, no, I want to be this character.
I have an idea.
Yeah. I'm gonna be quirky cute.
It's giving D&D, and I love it. It's just like, this is what I'm like envisioning for my character.
I have this vibe.
Like, listen, Sunglasses all the time. I liked it. I dug it. I was like, hey, I'm here for it.
I did too. I love windows.
Yeah, I really like windows, and so the first time I saw them, I was like, yeah, I could dig it.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I would. Yeah, I would.
That.
Yeah, like I would.
He's cute.
He's cute. Like, what am I gonna say? No. You wear sunglasses inside. Like, only cool people do that. I don't know if you guys know that, but
yeah,
back in the 80s at least.
Yeah, definitely in the 80s.
I do want to make mention of one other thing, and I don't remember the character's name, but he had a nose ring.
The doctor.
Okay.
Blair?
It wasn't Blair. Maybe it was Cooper.
Maybe it was
or Copper, Dr. Copper. So there are two doctors, Dr. Blair and Dr. Copper. So weirdest nose ring placement I've ever seen in my life. There's no way that was real because it was up against his face. At first, I just thought he had a weird nose.
Yeah, this was the first time I noticed his nose ring. This watch, I was like, "Is that man have a nose ring? Like, right? What the fuck?" Yeah.
Okay, there's a Reddit thread. So what's up with Copper's nose ring?
Yes.
It was the actor's choice, according to this random Redditor. So this Redditor, Trellert, from 5 years ago, said it was the actor's choice, which is odd because he didn't wear it in real life.
When they just, like, do whatever the fuck you want. Who cares?
Right.
Be whoever. Yeah, I know the one actor, he was casted for a different role. He actually wanted to be Campbell, the one with that like the dogs, that was like closer to
Clark.
The dogs. Clark.
Because I thought for pretty much the whole time that Clark was.
Yeah. And that's why he like read the script. He's like, I feel like Clark is more interesting because he's like this red herring character. And he also has this bond with the dogs that's like different than with people. He like feels closer to the dogs and he's like, I just like that character more. And I feel bad for Clark, you know?
Yeah, because honestly, I
really care for those dogs and, you know, everyone's like on him, which is fair. Like, after you found out about the dog, it's like, all right, Clark, like, where the fuck were you at?
Right.
But yeah, he was human the whole time. It's crazy.
Yes. Once I found out he was human the whole time, I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad for him. And up until that point, I was like, he's totally it. I really thought he was. But that's also because they were like leading you on with Blair being like, keep an eye out for Clark. Like,
yeah. And I think Blair was an alien.
Yeah. He must
for a while, I think he was.
I don't know when he changed, but it must have been pretty early on.
He might have been the first one, to be honest.
Well, they said so. I didn't read too much into this, but some of the thing, because pretty much everywhere was talking about Norris or Palmer being the first ones to go. Okay, so the reason I don't think Blair was the first one to go is because Blair did all that science experiments and found out that was on the computer and did like the simulation that they made and all that. I don't think that why would the alien ever do that? You know, that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
So I don't think he would be the first.
Yeah. Some people are saying, well, he, you know, destroyed like the helicopter and all this stuff. He killed the dogs because of a precaution to make sure the alien doesn't get out. But then some people were like, well, he could have been pretending to act crazy so that they would seclude him from the group and then he would have time to like build a ship to leave. Sure. So
yeah, the like, shipbuilding thing was weird, by the way.
Yeah. I was like wow.
Very out of nowhere.
I mean, I guess out in Antarctica, he was like, fuck it, I need to get the fuck out of here. There's no escape.
Right.
Because the first time, so you see in the prequel, but it crash lands in ice and he like, the thing gets out and gets frozen immediately. So it was frozen over for like over 100,000 years.
Yes.
Before it was thawed out. So yeah, this bitch was probably like, fuck this shit. Like, I'm done.
Yeah, this planet sucks.
Yeah, I hate it here.
Yeah.
This is not like Lilo and Stitch. I did not land on an island. This is bullshit.
I don't know. His whole thing, it is interesting. But also, what do you have to say about the noose that he was making? Because do you think that was a ploy to try to, like, the alien created that as a ploy? Or do you think that he was in the shed and then turned?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he was maybe turned more in the cabin, like when he was secluded.
That's what I was thinking, because I was like, maybe he was making a noose, because he really was like, listen, everyone, we need to get out of here and go. Maybe he started to make a noose, but then the creature got to him too soon before he could ever use it.
Yeah, I feel like that makes a little bit more sense, but I can see people's theories on him being turned earlier because at that point you weren't really sure where everyone was. Like no one was really taking precautions yet. So like he could have been the next one turned and then acted crazy just to get secluded so he can have time. But then the whole noose thing, I was like, okay, who put that there? Unless he was like continuing to play crazy and was like, I'm just gonna put a noose here, make them think like I might do that or whatever.
Yeah. It could be. It could be like, oh, I'm trying to play with their minds or whatever. But I think that's a big ask for an alien to come up with that.
Yeah, I mean, they take all memories and everything from the people they grab. So if that man was already kind of like a little crazy in the head or his personality, he would react this way, then maybe the alien was kind of playing on that. I don't know.
What do you know anything about the secret messages that McCready was recording?
The recording he did at the end?
So McCready started just doing this recording basically for perpetuity's sake. Mm-hmm. Does a little rewind, re-record action, which was whatever. And then we never really see or hear about it again. So I wasn't sure if that was just like a fun little add-in or if that comes in sequels or what.
So there is a video game.
Right. Yeah, I did see that.
John Carpenter did say is canon. Okay. So if we're going off the canon, here's more information here. Okay. So U.S. like Army team comes in to see what's going on. They find the tapes, and that's how they learn about like kind of what's happened. They find McCready's tape. They find Childs, and he's frozen to death. So people are like, okay, we think Childs is like was human and died. I'm like, maybe. I don't know.
Doesn't mean that he's not an alien, guys.
Yeah, but McCready was missing. McCready was found. So, and then they go to the Norwegian Center and they find out there was a whole like lab testing on the aliens, all this crazy shit. Anyway, fast forward, you fight the giant alien at the end and McCready comes in to like help you. And he says that, he pretty much says like, oh, I'm McCready, and like they fly off. And it's been 3 months, so it's like, how did this man survive?
What?
So now people are like, was McCready an alien? Or he could have turned in like the game setting. But yeah, so it's interesting. But that's what the game is, and John Carpenter said it's canon. Unless he's just saying that to fuck with people, I don't know.
Could be, but I mean, why would he say that? This is your baby. Yeah,
so the tapes, that's the only thing that I saw for the tapes. There were supposed to be sequels in this movie, but it did so bad in box office.
Oh, really?
And the critics were really rough on it. Yeah. Like, it was, like, pretty crazy. I can read. It had a really bad box office bomb because it was competing with E.T.
Oh.
And, of course, E.T. versus
the thing. Sweet alien versus a horrifying one.
A fucking terrifying monster.
Yeah.
So some critics said that the gory effects, tone, and the characters, like, things were too phony looking and they were disgusting and it was junk. And other people were like, it's hard to tell who's being attacked and it's hard to care. These are like rough critic ratings.
Yeah.
And then superficial characterizations and the implausible behavior. They dismissed the film nothing more than like an alien knockoff. And even the director of the original, so there was a movie in the 50s that was based on the story. It was nothing like it, but that's what inspired John Carpenter to make this version. So he publicly denounced this version, saying, if you want blood, go to the slaughterhouse. All in all, it's a terrific commercial for J&B Scotch. And so this is like really mean. Really mean.
What was John Carpenter's reaction? I feel like that's devastating.
He did take it really to heart because this was his favorite movie that he worked on. And so he was like really upset about it. And I think there were a lot of, like obviously going against E.T. was a big thing. But I think at that time, like this was such a gory, crazy alien movie. It was different than, Alien and then E.T. Like, this alien is just like a blob monster. Like, it doesn't have a form specifically. He said his career would have been definitely different if this film was successful, because he would have done more Thing movies. He was going to do another Stephen King adaptation, Firestarter, but they told him no because of this movie. And so he eventually found relief that the film has such a rich cult following now.
Right.
So obviously things are better now, but at that time it was like
I mean,
rough
that's
times.
devastating. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it was, and it, you know, it was a lot of work on this movie, and it was like a passion project, and this movie was a lot more, you know, similar to the original book, whereas the one in the 50s was like nothing like the book.
Yeah.
So I'm like, at least like he did more like
Right.
the original story.
Poor guy.
I know, but it's all right.
I mean, I think he's been pretty successful in life otherwise.
Yeah, he's, you know, a lot of people call him like the father of horror movies and stuff. So, you know, he's fine. But
Yeah, he's
a very
survive.
kind man.
But it
I
just
met him in person.
What?
Yeah, he was at like a random convention, and he was like, he wasn't even at like, you know, actors and actresses like when they're off their. He was like at a booth, and I was like,
What?
John Carpenter. It was like crazy. He's like so nice. He's just humble and just talking to people and you know, talking about whatever. But he's
That's
a very
awesome.
nice man. So
Oh, good. I'm glad.
yeah,
I'm glad that he's a nice person.
yes.
Main character, smash or pass. I went with McCready, and I went with smash. I mean,
Hell yeah.
I think I feel like that's a universal. Like, anyone who would say otherwise is wrong.
Right.
Even though he gives Brett vibes. I don't want that to be weird between us now. I just want to address it.
Because I'm like, I feel like he reminds me of Brett, so I'm curious of what Megan will say. Smash or pass. He's not that similar to Brett, though. So
No, he's different
it's
enough.
just Brett just looks like bearded white men.
Right,
so.
exactly. See, it's not fair. It's
Yeah.
not fair because every time a bearded white man shows up, it's like, I feel weird. Like, God damn it.
Like this. Oh my god.
God damn it. Okay. How likely am I to survive the situation? I was a little cocky. So,
Were you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wrote 5. So I'm
Okay.
aware that this is very cock. Like, this is a movie where basically they all die in the end. And yet I feel like if I was there, I could have talked some sense into people. We could have had a figure it out session. We could have like made teams. I don't know. I feel like we could have.
But
I know.
if someone was like Brett.
No, definitely McCready would have shot me first. Like, let's be honest. Freaking, no doubt. No doubt I would die. That's
5
why.
is fair, because it's like either they're gonna listen or they're not. So.
Right. I feel like it was a 50-50% chance of me living or dying.
Yeah.
And, like, probably I'd be more like a Windows character who chickens out and can't shoot the thing, but whatever. Yeah. I am in flight, fight, flight, or freeze. I'm a freezer, so I do know that about myself. Even though I'm watching Windows freeze and I'm like, you idiot! Move!
Dumbass.
Yeah. Meanwhile, me, I'd be like, frozen.
Yeah.
How likely? Nope, just I answer that. Would you recommend to a non-horror fan? I said no because I felt like it was too gory to recommend to any non-horror fan. I feel like Alien was easy to say like yes to because it has that sci-fi element to it.
Yeah.
But this was just, it was very gory.
Right. You forgot to mention if you would smash or pass the villain.
Smash or pass the villain.
That's what we all want to know.
Yeah, everyone's like on the edge of their seat. They're like, would she? She would not. Pass on the villain.
What if?
What
McCready imitation.
Ooh.
Would you smash?
No, I'm gonna pass because it's too weird, and also
it'd probably eat you.
Yeah, it would definitely eat me, and then also we don't know about this whole particle. Like, it does saliva transfer. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, something's gonna transfer.
I don't.
That's for sure.
Yeah, that's like one hell of an STD to get. So
that's valid. Yeah, I would definitely not.
Yeah,
do that.
Pass. The final rating. Drum roll, please. Okay, so 3.
3. Okay.
3. Okay, so I feel bad because I really wanted to give it higher.
Yeah.
Because I
knew the gore was going to be a lot. So
but that
was a little like, I don't know if you'll love it as much.
So that was pretty much for me the biggest downfall. I think if it was less gore, it would have been probably a 4.
Yeah.
If it had been significantly less gory. For me, I just like, even just the finger cutting with the X-Acto knife was like, disgusting. I hated that. But like I will say about the gore, like I said ew a lot. I said ewy a lot. Yeah. But it was still, like, not traumatizing. Like, I didn't have a nightmare last night about the gore. It wasn't the worst gore I've ever seen. The blood looked like syrup. It really did. It wasn't that bad.
It's just 80s gore, you know, it's very dramatic, but it's pretty intense, some of it, you know, it's a lot of body horror, and if you're not really into body horror, it's like, ugh,
it's not the best. I think,
like, the one part where the thing is touching the guy's face, and it's merging into his skin, it's like, ugh.
Yeah, there's a lot of ick.
Yeah.
I do feel like maybe if I had seen this back in the 80s, one, it probably would have actually scared me. And I probably would have been slightly more amazed with all the graphics and effects and things. So it probably would have been a little higher too. But I do love deception. I do love the way that they played through and, like, keep you guessing and keep you talking about it even after. I love to, like, think through and try to problem solve and come up with my own theories. So that element of it was really fun. I didn't hate it. I just, for me, like, would I rewatch it? Would it be something I would put on every Christmas because it's a winter movie?
Yeah.
Probably not. Would I be open to it, though, after having maybe a glass of wine? Yes.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it or anything like that. I wish I could have given it a higher score. So that you would love
I was
me.
thinking, I'm like, I feel like at the highest you'd give it a 4 because it's, like, a lot. It's an older movie. Like, it's a cult classic. You know, cult classics are kind of hit or miss for people.
Yeah.
You know, even for Carrie, it didn't deserve 0, but I think it
I didn't give it a 0. I didn't. I give it a 0.25.
Okay. But still, like, you know, it's another cult classic where it's like, yeah, some people it's gonna be like, this is the best thing. Like, The Thing for me is, like, a top movie, but it's not for everyone because not everyone likes body horror. But for me,
what was your
like,
fear? What was your fear that my worst rating would be?
For this movie?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess anything under, like, 2.5.
Okay. So I was on the cusp there a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
3 is in between.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's half. And I think that's fair. You know? Like I said, it wasn't loved when it came out. Like, critics were hating on this movie. Yeah. And I think it just wasn't right for the time. You know? Maybe I think it was a little much for people to dig into then. But, you know, it has a good story. It has good acting. You know, a lot of tension and good jump scares that weren't super traditional or
there was one scene that legitimately scared me, and I think it's when Gary and the face thing, like the hand face melting thing, like when the Dr. Blair jumped up behind him, that actually genuinely scared me. Yeah,
so there were a few fun jump scares, but no, it's good.
Yeah.
Another fun fact, so the creature at the end, the Blair thing, where that was like this massive fucking creature, it needed a team of 50 puppeteers to operate it, which is crazy.
Shut up. That's insane.
Yeah, so pretty much the bottle of scotch, people were saying that McCready was throwing Molotovs, and they were thinking that bottle probably had gasoline in it, not alcohol. So him handing it to Childs and Childs drinking it could have been another thing with McCready being like laughing because he's like, the thing's not going to know what alcohol
like, interesting.
So that was like one thing. The campsite was built from scratch, and the Norwegian camp that was like burned down was actually the same camp after it was burnt down.
So they like that's
re-recorded, which is smart. So they did that rather than
make a whole second
build,
set.
build and burn it. So the words spoken at the beginning by Lars, the Norwegian man, is actually like legit. So if you actually know Norwegian, you would understand him. And what he says is, "Get the hell out of there. That's not a dog. It's some sort of thing. It's imitating a dog. It isn't real. Get away, you idiots." There's only someone that knew Norwegian.
Man, that's such a shame.
He really said the whole thing. You imagine you know Norwegian and you're like,
dude, what? Oh my god, kill it. Movie's over.
Yeah. Or like watching it as like a audience member.
Oh, you're like, spoilers.
Yeah, hello. Oh, so the dog, the alien dog, his name is Jed, and he's actually half Malamute and half wolf. So he doesn't bark, he doesn't growl, and so that's why he kind of like looked a little spooky, because he just has this like demeanor about him.
That's why he was a little bit funky.
Yeah, he was a little funky. So he was a dog actor that was half wolf, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I hope he had a good life.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't see much more about him, but all the actors were like, yeah, it's a weird dog. It's kind of creepy. Because, like, if
he is a little, like, off-putting,
yeah.
Off-putting, thank you.
If he was, like, uncomfortable about something, he would just, like, stare. And the trainer was like, if you catch him staring like that, you have to, like, move slowly and, like, kind of, like, yeah, don't do anything crazy, because I guess that's his wolf side being like, I'm gonna fuck you up.
Oh my god.
So it's a little scary, but yeah.
Oh, this is just me hanging out with my actor buddy who might kill me.
Yeah, just fine. Just whatever. So this movie was ranked 12th scariest movie of all time by Entertainment Weekly, which is really interesting. I wonder what other movies are on there.
I know. Gotta find out what 1 through 11 is, and if I have seen them, and what ones I shouldn't watch.
Scary movies are, like, subjective.
It's very subjective.
You know, like, yeah, I think The Thing is creepy. I wouldn't say it's, like, number 12 scariest.
It wasn't, no.
Like, I'd say, like, I'd rate it high for, like, one of my favorite horror movies, but, like, as for scares,
I had one time where I felt somewhat scared, and it was just jump scare.
Yeah, so I'm curious when that was as well, like, when they rated that. This is funny. So the film was shown on Turkish national television in the summer of 1987 with over 20 minutes cut, which was common practice at the time when viewers would often complain about excessive gore. And therefore, it was rather incoherent. Characters would disappear and the viewer would have no clue as to what happened to them. And then soon after, a newspaper TV reviewer famously called The Thing the worst horror movie he'd ever seen.
No,
you imagine all that shit cut out? You're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that'd be so confusing.
Where is everyone?
Yeah, everyone just disappears. They're just gone. I would love to watch that version. That must be chaotic.
It opened the same day as Ridley Scott's Blade Runner.
Oh.
Which also was met with unfavorable reactions by critics. Yeah. And, you know, so obviously it was beaten out by E.T., but now, you know, from the early 90s onward, The Thing and Blade Runner have been considered two of the greatest, you know, sci-fi films. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, so people just in the 80s didn't have much taste, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what they were looking for in the 80s. Yeah. It's just too much for them. Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is that it's become tradition in British and Arctic research stations to watch The Thing as part of their midwinter fest and celebration held every June 21st. Can you imagine watching a movie like that and you're going to stay in Antarctica secluded at a research station?
No.
Would not want that.
It's like watching the Blair Witch Project and then going to the Blair Woods or whatever
they're like, all right.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah, no thank you.
It's like, here's what not to do.
Yeah,
in this situation.
If a dog comes up to you, oh no.
Not good.
Don't. Just don't.
And another thing too about the dog is, like, after they went to the Norwegian site, how did none of them be like, where's that dog? You know, like, maybe we should check on that dog.
Right.
Put him away.
Right. You saw everything that happened, and then that dog that they were trying to kill. Clearly we're trying to kill that dog.
Right. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like a little, like, why would they do that? But also, like, why would they try to be killing a dog? Like,
right.
Interesting.
Yes. Let's think about that.
But I guess they were thinking Lars murdered people or something. He was the cause of it, and the dog was just a victim. So, it's fine. Anyway.
Whatever. Stupid. They're stupid. They're just stupid boys.
Stupid boys.
Gosh. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So the movie that I picked for you, I feel like you've seen it, and if you haven't, I'll actually be a little surprised.
Okay.
Is Easy A.
I have not seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Oh my God, amazing.
But I know much about it, so.
Okay. Well, for those of you who don't, Easy A is the story of a teenager in high school who tells her best friend about her wild weekend where she lost her virginity, except it is a lie. And school busybody Amanda Bynes spreads that lie after hearing about it all around school. So our main character, Emma Stone, decides to use that to her advantage, socially, financially, etc., essentially living her life as the Scarlet Letter. I'm curious what your thoughts are going to be. I'm very curious to rewatch it. I have not seen it in a very, 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 very long time. Probably close to probably close to 14
I mean, it's
years.
an older movie.
It's 2010, so I don't know.
Wow,
I've seen it
okay.
maybe a couple times, and I haven't seen it past the early 2010s, teens. So I'm curious how it's going to age. What?
I'm curious what the threat is. Not to really think about it.
Okay. I'm not giving you. Do you want one hint? I'll give you one hint. Or
no.
Okay.
I'll try and guess it.
I'll give it to you. Okay. I am curious how the movie holds up 14 years later. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Emma Stone.
Yes.
Can't go that wrong, right?
Yeah. No. I'm just curious about the humor because I feel like sometimes
that's true. It is like a
the early 2000s, like they were just kind of understanding some things. So we'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah. I'm going to rewatch it too. So I did really enjoy it. Like, I really loved it when I first watched it. And the scene of her singing along to the birthday card was like iconic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know that one or no?
I do know. I do know the scene. Yeah. I've seen like clips of it. I've heard things about it. So I never actually watched it though.
I'm excited for you to watch it.
All right. Well, this has been How Do You Watch This? Hit us up on Instagram.
Yep.
We've posted slowly.
Yeah, Demi has. I said last week I was going to post and then I didn't because I'm a bad person.
But it's there, so
yes.
you can like it. And then, you can email us too if you want. How do you watch this at gmail.com? And yeah.
Most importantly, listen and tell people about it.
Well, we'll see ya next
Bye.
week. Listen in to our
for
romance
ECA and find out what the thing is.
Yeah, find out what the threat is.
Yeah, that's what it's called.